bookshelves to you? Are they trophy stands for beautiful special editions? Are they storage solutions for various knickknacks? Are they maybe a time capsule of your reading taste? For me, my bookshelves are all three. Reading is such a huge part of my life and has been pretty much as long as I can remember. So my bookshelves, more than anything, are almost like charm bracelets, a representation of my personality. And for years, my bookshelves have been the classic influencer-coded rainbow aesthetic. But you clicked on a reorganizing bookshelves video, so you know where this goes. I promise this context matters. I just finished my bachelor's degree in English and my fourth year undergraduate thesis, and my reading taste has changed so dramatically in the last 5 years. I needed my bookshelf to represent me and not an aesthetic or a professor's reading list. The process began with moving every piece of furniture in our apartment so I could put the bookshelves all together on one wall. Shout out to my amazing partner for being very flexible with how we arrange things in our teeny tiny apartment, and for ensuring I don't crush myself while I'm moving furniture. I had to just get the books off the ground while I finished exams, but on that first day of freedom, it was time to get organized. You can see the neglect after months of being ignored, and these beautiful babies deserved a top to bottom clean. So the whole first day of this project was just dedicated to getting them all set up. Also, do any of you notice how none of the shelves lined up with each other? I wound up fixing that off camera because I saw it way too late in the day, but I genuinely did not even notice how wonky they all were. Look, I love and will always love the color-coded book displays, okay? But I have enough books now that I need my shelves to be a little bit more functional. For me and my brain, that means organizing by genre. So the categories are classics, literary fiction, and thrillers that I do not consider to suit a horror tone, nonfiction, fantasy, and then horror and sci-fi dystopia. Here's my obligatory disclaimer. The library is amazing, and owning and arranging this many books is not just a privilege, but often linked to overconsumption. It is in this frame of mind that I also began culling the books that don't interest or represent me anymore. You'll see I kind of started trying to plan everything ahead of time. Here's my Lord of the Rings shelf. I'm gonna put classics up here. Manga will be here. All my nonfiction is gonna be here. This all got changed. I did fill up all of the bottom shelves off camera. These hold cookbooks, notebooks, art books, movies, plays, and other random non-book related things. So we started with the classics, and despite coming out of an English degree, there were way less classics that I actually wanted to keep than I anticipated. And also I lied. I did organize my classics by color and size. Kind of. It's a little bit chaotic, but I really love how it turned out, so don't attack me, they're my bookshelves. The next shelf I designed around my Frankenstein collection, specifically this beautiful illustrated special edition that I found. I surrounded this little setup with classic special editions, but the shelf ended up becoming kind of a catch-all for my more aesthetic older books. Now we get into more recent fiction, where I actually started organizing by author's last name. At first I didn't really know how I wanted this organized, and I kept moving the books back and forth, but I do eventually figure it out. We've got literary fiction, like Disorientation by Elaine Sey-Chu, historical fiction, and some biographies, and then also some thrillers that I decided didn't quite fit the horror shelf. I also stuck my Girl with the Dragon Tattoo series here as a nice bookend. It fit, I don't know. All the shelves are pretty much organized by genre / tone and by author's last name, but I do want to add with my nonfiction shelf specifically that both my partner and I are writers, so I shelved our writing books together at one end for easy access. I also wound up sticking my textbooks at the end of the nonfiction shelf with my Moulin Rouge VHS. Do not ask me why I made this decision. I do not know. So the left shelf became kind of a literary catch-all, but this middle shelf, this is all fantasy, baby. Recently, which is a generous term for me being almost a year out from my last video, I have focused this channel more on horror fiction, but fantasy is and always will be my first love. It's genuinely so nice to see all of my series together with my standalones and line up the books that I'm super excited for, like Venko and Godkiller, right next to old favorites like Black Sun. Also, The Starless Sea deserves to be front and center like this. I adore the world of this book so much, and I just love being able to look at it like this. Okay, now if you were not aware, my Robin Hobb obsession has been going strong for 3 years. No, I have not finished the entire Realm of the Elderlings series. Yes, it is still my favorite series. Let's hope that doesn't bite me in the ass. This shelf is particularly special because other than the very fancy illustrated editions, I am slowly collecting the whole series from used bookstores. It makes my personal connection to these even stronger with the addition of past readers' histories. The last couple shelves on the bottom here house my partner's small but growing manga collection, which I did add my weird little Game of Thrones Bibles to. I thought it was cute, don't judge me. And then I have so many Brandon Sanderson books, and I spent good money on his COVID Kickstarter, so those editions get to be on display. Except for the Wizard one. I don't really like the cover of that one, so I've hidden it. Rounding off the fantasy is, of course, my dedicated Lord of the Rings shelf. Warbreaker gets to go up here as well because it has been my favorite book since I was 16, so more than a decade. Let's not talk about that. And fun fact, this Hobbit copy is actually the edition my dad gave me when I was just a kid. And now, my new love. My obsession, the books that define the way I look at life as an adult in my late 20s, the horror and dystopia section. That sounds really sad. Let me explain. What I mean is that I really like acknowledging the darkness in the world and allowing that to exist alongside joy, comfort, and yes, my love of Gothic aesthetics. My favorite thing about these bookshelves now is that I could happily recommend anything on these shelves to the right person. It feels like there is life and history here. And also it's a really nice visual timeline demonstrating how my reading taste has changed as I've grown up. Some of these books I've had since I was a teenager. Others are still unread and staring daggers at me as I continue to read library books and adding things to my TBR. This project became much more than a bookshelf reset. I intended to film it as a typical bookshelf tour, but instead found myself in what I can only call a meditation on my identity and my undetermined future post-bachelor's degree. It's been a really long road. I get to keep what I love and get rid of what I didn't. And there are quite a few books that I will be donating to represent that feeling of moving forward. It's got a bit existential, but this video also represents my genuine excitement for this next chapter and all of the books and videos that will come with it. And you bet your ass I am already 3 books deep into my first reading vlog that is just me getting to read a bunch of books that I've been dying to get to for ages and finally have time for. So don't forget to subscribe if you would like to see that and all of the other many plans that I have. Have a haunted day. Go meditate on your bookshelves. Bye.